Hi, Brian back again today, and this time at the request of one of our viewers, we're doing a JYF Cribs Chicken Coop edition. Alright, so here we are taking a look at our chicken coop today, and actually fairly newly constructed, replacing our previous coop. And what we've got, basically, we're down in the very corner of our reconstructed James Fort. We're tucked around behind the blacksmith shop underneath a watchtower, so making use of the architecture of the fort itself. A little bit of space that was up until now just not being used for much. And you can see we've built into the space underneath the watchtower here, our chicken coop. Slatted so it gets plenty of ventilation, so they don't have to worry about heat buildup in the summertime and dampness and that sort of thing and the humidity of Virginia. We go out of our way to try to take care of our chickens, probably a bit more so than the colonists would have historically. By the end of their second year here, Captain John Smith writes the chickens have become too numerous to count. So it seems unlikely they're even bothering to coop them. We've got considerably fewer than, the too numerous to count. And so we let them free range during the day, but we close them up in their coop at night so they remain safe from nocturnal predators and that sort of thing. Keep them sheltered. As you can see, we've got a nice wattle fence across here separating off the chicken yard. Got the little chicken-sized door there so we can let them out into a little closed-in chicken run, especially important for our younger birds right now, our pullets and cockerels, as they need a sheltered space. They're not underfoot. Get some exercise, get some fresh air, but not be mixing with the large numbers of humans that are out here as well. And you can see we've got a few of our young birds actually out enjoying the yard right now. Let's go ahead and take a look inside and see how those digs are looking for the birds. So here we are inside of our chicken coop, and as you can see, it's not 100% historically accurate. We keep the birds here for their historical value, but we want to take the best care of them possible. So a lot of the chicken care that we're doing is modern. We've got a lot of the inside of the coop lined with chicken wire to make sure that no predators can get in. We've got our plastic waterer over here so they can always get clean water to drink and that sort of thing. So like I said, we try to take as good a care of our birds as possible and not only keep it 100% historically accurate. You can see they've got a selection of roosting bars. I've got a portion of ladder here behind me. Not that the chickens need it to get up to their penthouse roosting boxes up there. The chickens, of course, are even at this age, their young age, are already capable of short flight, so they can get right from the floor of the coop up to the nest boxes. But each rung of that ladder also provides options for perching and roosting at night. They are, they'll quite capable of looking after themselves in terms of like temperature regulation. Again, as we mentioned in a previous video, the Dorkings are really tolerant of a wide variety of temperature ranges. And if it's really hot, they'll spread themselves out. If it's really cold, they'll clump together. The only time we ever have any real concern is if it's going to be substantially below freezing. They can get a little bit of frostbite on their combs or wattles, so we'll rig a heat lamp up in here in the wintertime, if the forecast is projecting particularly cold temperatures. This is, again, we want to try to take care of our birds. Now, if we take a look over here, we can see Again, we've got our food bin and our plastic waterer. We feed our birds out of a trough rather than using a big feeder with a hopper that stays constantly full, because we use food as a motivator to bring the birds home at night. We let them free range around the fort, and so we don't want food available all the time. We want to have food to be, again, there as a motivator. They show up at the end of the day for dinner. Chickens, they're a lot like teenagers, very food motivated, But since they are free range, they're out hunting for bugs and looking for seeds and that sort of thing. We're not going to have food on hand all day. That's what being free range is about. They're out feeding themselves, getting a more natural diet. And so we give them plenty of food in here in the evening to coax them back in. And while they're still quite young, we'll throw a scoop or two out in the chicken yard as well, just to make sure they're getting enough to grow. But the older they get, the less they're going to depend, most of the year anyway, on the chicken feed, and the more they're going to be able to hunt around and feed themselves. We give them a little more in the wintertime because there's less available for them to scratch around and find on the grounds. But most of the year, they're pretty good at feeding themselves. So let's give them a scoop of food or two out in the yard here, and let's get them some exercise. Okay, let's see if anybody's hungry this morning. Give them a little extra feed. Like I said, normally don't feed them twice a day. We let them scrounge around for themselves and do what they do naturally. But at this young age, we're giving them a little extra help still in the mornings. And doesn't look like anybody's terribly excited. I've got all the birds out in the yard here, and they're not paying much attention to the feed, which is actually a good sign. It means that they have gotten pretty adept at scratching around and finding bugs and seeds and everything else that they like to eat for themselves, so they're not totally dependent on the feed at this point. And like I said, that's a really good sign. Now, as they continue to grow, they're already hitting that age where it's getting really easy to start determining which ones are males, which ones are females. It's getting pretty easy to start telling the pullets from the cockerels. And this is going to be important, especially historically, if you're keeping the chickens for sustenance. The hens obviously are going to be your egg layers, and they are often the primary birds that are kept. But folks liked having a chicken dinner 400 years ago, just like we do today. And if you've got a hen who's reliably laying eggs every day, it'd be kind of waste to have her for dinner. And so it's typically your spare cockerels, your spare roosters, who are going to end up as your dinner, if you're going to have chicken dinner at all. And what we see with the flock here, I mean, it's looking, we've got quite a few of each. And so you're typically going to end up with a whole lot more cockerels than you really need. You don't need many roosters per hens when all you're trying to do is keep a flock going, and you don't want them fighting constantly. And so typically what you'll see, the cockerels will be caponized, they'll be fixed, and so all of their early growth goes into getting big and plump instead of getting reproductively mature. So capons are going to be your primary, those fixed males, they're going to be your primary meat, and that's actually one of the reasons why Dorkings were so popular, such a popular breed in England at this time, as they are not only really reliable egg layers, and throughout the year they don't slow down as much in the wintertime as a lot of other chicken breeds, but for centuries were prized as meat-bearing birds as well. Reputedly some of the best quality, best tasting chicken meat available. So again, while there were, as we've discussed before, a number of different breeds available that the colonists could have brought here, Dorkings are definitely a front runner, and they're certainly our favorites. All right, well, thanks for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this edition of JYF Cribs with our chicken coop, and keep checking back for more updates with our birds, and remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.